Let me give you the context. The English Premier League, German Bundesliga and Spanish La Liga are 3 of the top 5 leagues in Europe, both in revenue and viewership. Over the last 5 years, Manchester City won 4 of the last 5 Premier League titles, Bayern Munich won 4 of the last 5 Bundesliga titles, and Real Madrid and Barcelona won 4 of the last 5 La Liga trophies. Compared it to the NBA, over the last 5 years, there have been 5 different champions. Why is football so predictable while the NBA is full of parody? Why is the talent distribution in football so skewed to the top 1%? Why are big trophies only won by big football clubs? Take for instance the Milwaukee Bucks, a small market team in the NBA. They won their first championship in 50 years in 2021. Another example, the Denver Nuggets won their first ever championship in 2023. Both teams don't have the biggest fan bases, both teams don't have the biggest budgets, and both teams are not in major cities. Why is the rich getting richer in football? Well, let's dive deeper and look at the reasons why these things happen. Okay, let's look at how the two sports get their youth talent. The NBA is made up of 2 conferences, the Eastern and Western Conference. Each conference has 15 teams. Teams are assigned to a conference based on their geographic location in North America. So the league has a total of 30 teams. For NBA teams to acquire young talent, there's a draft process. The NBA draft takes place once a year. It's a chance for teams to take a new player who haven't played in the NBA before. Draft picks can be former professional players from other leagues in other parts of the world, or athletes who've previously played for their colleges. Players who are up for the NBA draft have to be 19 or older and have to be out of high school for at least 1 year. As part of the process, 60 players are picked for each of the 30 professional teams across 2 rounds. The order in which teams have to pick their players depends on how well they did in the previous season. The worst performing teams get to pick at the top of the draft, which means they have access to the best incoming talent. However, a low performing team doesn't automatically mean they'll get to pick a player they want first. Instead, the 14 lowest ranking teams take part in what's known as the NBA draft lottery. This decides the order in which the teams will pick their new players. After the 14 teams which are part of the NBA draft lottery have made their selection, the remaining 16 teams are given the opportunity to make their picks. This is also determined by their performance during the previous season, with the better performing teams choosing last. The NBA champions are the final teams to pick which players they want. The idea is to make a more balanced league with fairer teams. After acquiring the talent, the team owns the players' rights. The NBA rules or the collective bargaining agreement rewards young players to stay with their bad teams. NBA contracts for rookies are all the same for all the teams. The contract depends on the draft position and the performances. So big teams cannot offer a player a larger amount of salary than that of a small team can offer because of the CBA. All NBA teams have the same salary cap of $140.588 million, regardless of the revenue, so every team offers the same contract. Money is not a major factor because in the NBA, anyone can beat anyone. Teams can present a compelling championship project to encourage young players to stay. So NBA talent is distributed evenly and teams can actually keep their potential superstars. In football, clubs dispatch scouts worldwide and players select their preferred club based on financial offerings, club stature, and league prominence. The negotiation is exclusive between the player and the club, so in most instances, players tend to favor big clubs over smaller ones, in contrast with the NBA where the teams pick the player. Even when a player is nurtured by a small club without any fanfare, it's challenging to retain top-tier talent because small clubs struggle to provide a sporting project and financial offerings compelling as that of larger clubs. It's uncommon for a superstar to remain in one club in football. So in conclusion, the first reason is the NBA talent is distributed more evenly and smaller clubs can actually retain their talent. Now let's talk about how the two sports exchange talent. In football, when a club is interested in signing a player, a representative from that club Now let's talk about how the two sports exchange talent. In football, when a club is interested in signing a player, a representative from that club will usually make an official inquiry to the club that has their target under contract. If a club is open to selling a player, the prospect of joining a new club is naturally put into a player's question, who then considers it with their agent and advisors. There are a number of moving parts involved in order to complete the transfer. First of all, the club must negotiate transfer fees along with their clauses, such as sell-on percentages and other financial endorsements. A transfer fee takes into account a number of factors, including a perceived quality of a player, current contract length, commercial value, and potential worth, amongst others. Then the buying club must negotiate a fresh contract with the player they wish to recruit, endeavoring to meet their terms requested in respect of salary, bonuses, contract length, and so on. The salary cap for teams in football varies. It depends on the revenue the individual club, so teams with big revenues get to spend more money on transfers and salaries. But there's a problem. Teams owned by rich billionaires from other fields can spawn revenues by inflating sponsorship revenues to boost their transfer money and salary cap. So one team is struggling to keep the lights on at the stadium, and the other team has unlimited amounts of money to buy players, and they can give them any salary they want. Now the NBA uses trades. NBA trades involve teams exchanging players or and draft picks to improve their roster or financial flexibility. For trades to occur, it must comply with the league's collective bargaining agreement, which include rules of salary matching and trade exceptions to ensure financial parity amongst the teams. So for example, if a team wants a player worth $10, it has to include a player worth $10, or have to aggregate salary. For example, they have to include a player worth $6 plus a player worth $4. Most of the time there's always draft compensation, which guarantees potential talent for the future. So let's make an example. In football, if Team A total player worth is $100 and Team B is $50, Team A wants to acquire a player worth $20 from Team B. Team A will pay Team B $20. So now Team A's squad is worth $120 and Team B is worth $30 and has $20 to spend. But they can't spend the whole money due to financial fair play rules, which states that a team can only spend a certain percentage of their profits on transfers to ensure financial sustainability. Let's say they spend $10, so now Team B is worth $40. So after the transaction, the big team got better and the small team got worse. So reason number 2, for a lack of a better term, money talks in football transfers. So I came across a 2015 World Economic Forum article about why football leagues are dominated by just a few teams. This is what I call a big club problem. The first finding was that there seems to be no relationship between the size of the league and the extent of domination. Small leagues are likely to be dominated by a small number of teams as big leagues. Second, most people always gravitate to what they recognize. So all the established and advertised teams will always get most fans, thus most of the money. Lastly, small clubs get a small piece of the pie for them to not go bankrupt and keep the cycle going. All in all, I think football is headed towards a dangerous place. The television product is getting harder and harder to watch because of the difference in quality between teams. One is attacking and the other is parking the bus. I'm not watching that for 90 minutes. I'm not gonna talk about the politics and morals of FIFA and the Saudis or oligarchs, because I feel like I'm just a fan who grew up watching the game and loving it. But this money thing is getting out of hand.